You are less powerful on your own than you are with having a relationship with God, your creator. That's all I see humility as, is knowing where you came from, the source of your strength, knowing what that is, understanding that where we are weak, he is strong, and leaning into that and celebrating those weaknesses. This is where I'm not strong, so this is awesome. Let me let him in. That's, to me, is humility.
All right, guys, it's 6 o'clock in the morning. Here we are at LAX. We are going to have an exciting day. We're going to Dallas so that we can do this podcast with Ben Pruitt. It'll be awesome. Looking forward to it. We're going to fly in there, have a great time with him, and then we're flying back tonight. So we're going to go live in Dallas today.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome back to the podcast. We are excited today. You know, we are on location in Dallas, Texas. That's right. This is such a big podcast that we actually flew over here from California to go to Dallas to meet our guest today because he has a lot to say, and I'm so excited to get to know him a little bit more, share him with you all. And I know this is going to be a podcast that you're going to want to share with a lot of people. Here on the Audacious Faith Podcast, we believe that God put us on this earth not just to exist, but to make a huge difference in the world. And we have the audacity to believe that. So welcome our guest today, Ben Pruitt. Let me tell you a little bit about Ben. Ben is a social media influencer. He's also an IFBB pro. He's a fitness coach, instructor, does a lot of great things, and he's going to be doing huge things in the future as well. We encourage you right off the bat, make sure you follow him. We'll get his information up there so that you can follow him on Instagram and various platforms. But Ben, thank you so much. You welcomed us into your home here. We appreciate it.
Thank you guys for coming out. Honestly, this is huge. An honor for me to be on this podcast, to be even considered to have a conversation with you guys. So appreciate y'all for coming out. This is huge. I'm really excited to jump into it.
It's going to be a great day, great interview. We're going to have a great time. So we're going to get to know you right off the bat. Maybe give us a little bit of background. I mean, I know that you do a lot with fitness and you've done bodybuilding and you've done all of that, but faith is also a part of you and who you are. And especially in that's kind of how we connected, because we noticed that a lot of the content that you were putting out there also had that as a part of it. So maybe kind of tell us a little bit about you and even why that's important to you.
Yeah, well, I grew up in the church.
Mhm.
You know, I was the Sunday, Wednesday churchgoer, so we were
Yeah.
there all the time with the family. My parents were always involved. But like growing up, it was more so it seemed like just the thing to do,
Sure.
just part of the routine almost.
Mhm.
So there was a lot of head knowledge about, the word, knew a lot of scriptures, like memorized a lot of different things back in the day.
Yeah.
But I don't really think there was like truly the spiritual encounter, like the heart knowledge, like it wasn't really there
Mhm.
for me. Um, Simply because I felt like I was just going through the motions. This is just doing what I was supposed to do. So after a while, I kind of like veered off, and then I recently reconnected last year, more so deeply on a heart level,
Okay.
with God and the Word and like the church again. So really just diving back into that and making that an integral part of my day-to-day routine now, and not just about just doing the works anymore. It's more so just about being um being a son of God, and like really just identifying more in him instead of just doing what I thought I was supposed to do in order to be like a good Christian. So now we're getting back into it, so I'm really enjoying it.
You know, what you're bringing up just reminds me of, I think, of so many that had experience that grew up in church like that. A lot of people that kind of, it's just what they do. It's what they're told. They memorize the verses, like you said, and it doesn't become, you mentioned about it becoming more of a thing from the heart. And gosh, I've known so many people that are like that. I didn't experience that myself because I didn't actually go to church as a kid until I was like 16 when I was invited. But I've noticed this again and again. Do you notice that there's something about what is that verse? Train up a child in the way that they should go, and then when they're old, they won't depart it. Is that seed that was planted there, and it kind of came back at a certain point? Was there like a point in life where all of a sudden it caused you to go back that way, or what do you think?
I do think so. I do think that resonates heavy simply just because everything that I was taught is like now I'm able to apply it to real life.
Right.
In the past, it didn't really make any sense. It was just words that I was memorizing and routines that I was going through and songs that I was singing, but they didn't have any real life application because, I was just a child. So it's hard to think, it's hard to apply life lessons when you're just a kid, so it doesn't make any sense. Like, so I was like, what's the point of all this? Why can't I just go this way? Why can't I, separate and like have fun and live this life that I actually want to live? Like, why do I have to do everything this way? Because this is all I knew. So I only knew one thing. So when I kind of stepped away from the church and started experiencing, ups and downs, and I guess if you want to call it worldly experiences, I was able to go back. When I did go back, I was able to apply different lessons that I had learned from when I was younger and actually live them. Like, I was able to, apply those lessons to my life. That's like the easiest way I can say it.
Well, it's great that what's in there does come back. It wasn't wasted by any means. So what about the journey between then and now? I mean, you ended up going into fitness eventually. I mean, how did all that how'd you get down that lane?
Into the fitness lane?
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously a journey from childhood. I'm thinking while you're in the church growing up as a kid, you're probably not thinking about that. I don't know if you had an interest back then, but
I was always into sports and fitness. I liked working out. When I got to high school, that's when I really started getting into the weight room. And I realized I liked training more than I liked the sport. So I liked conditioning and strength training more than I liked actually playing.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Because so many athletes, they don't even want to practice hard. They just want to show up for the game. And obviously those aren't the best athletes, but you like the grind. You like the training part of it.
Yeah, that was more fun for me than the actual game, honestly. I didn't really enjoy the game. I just like preparing and just working out and running and conditioning.
Now, do you find that to be common or do you find that to be kind of different from most?
No, that was very uncommon.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I played defensive back in high school.
Okay.
And I ended up catching myself like lifting with like the defensive ends. So the bigger guys, just because they would actually train hard.
Gotcha.
And so, I mean, maybe for them, they weren't training as hard, but I like to push myself out of my comfort zone. So I would just train very, very hard when I was in high school. And then so after sports though, I didn't really have a reason to work out. So I would, just do the typical high school off season partying, doing what I wanted to do. And then I think about mid-20s is when I got back into the gym when I was about 25, and it just came back like naturally. So I did that for some time, started getting in shape. This was, probably around 2014 to 2018. And I was like off and on, still would party and dabble in different areas, but around 2020 was when I really started taking fitness seriously, and to the point where I wanted to start helping people get in shape. So people would ask me if I could help them out. So I remember just like, helping people with meal plans here and there. And then I started writing workout plans, and then I started sharing it on Instagram.
Yeah.
And that's just, it kind of took off from there around COVID time. When everybody was kind of locked up at home, I was doing home workouts and just kind of posting them, and people would ask me for help, and it just turned into a little business, and then it turned into a bigger business. And now this is what I do.
You mentioned COVID time, which is amazing because that was a time that changed a lot of things for a lot of people, didn't it? Including what you ended up finding, this kind of niche. I know even this podcast came out of kind of a result of COVID time when things changed quite a bit and a lot of things were done from home. As you started to pursue this, you're mentioning meal plans and all that because, a lot of people say that, exercise, fitness and all those things and godliness and faith, those are two separate areas, but really they're not. I mean, how much do you find the amazingness of treating the body correctly the way God has created it versus abusing it and a lot of the, what do you call it? The processed foods that are out there that are very damaging probably. I'm sure those are not in your meal plans as much as a lot of people like to consume them. So how does that play a role? I mean, why are we're hearing so much today about how people are sick. They're just not feeling well. There's more disease. They're not able to do a lot of the things in the gym. How many people do you see go in a gym, for instance, that are working their tail off, but because of their diet, they're going to get nowhere?
Oh, I see it all the time.
Yeah.
It's the most common thing.
Mm-hmm.
People will show up and just look the same year after year after year. It's just almost like, what's the point?
Yeah.
I do believe that, the body is a temple at the end of the day. And I feed myself to nourish. That's pretty much it. I'll go out and I'll indulge in a burger every now and again or some ice cream or some cookies, but I never overindulge.
Okay.
I think it's good to, enjoy the variety that life has to offer, honestly. But when it comes down to it, I think the way that we feed ourselves, whether it's, just physical food or whether it's like what we consume on social media, the type of people that we're around, the conversations that we have, what we intake heavily impacts our output more so than just the exercises that we do or the work that we do. So a lot of the times people will be like, well, I'm doing all this work, I'm showing up to the gym, but it's like, well, are you eating correctly? Do you have a strong friend circle? Like, do you have people pushing you forward, or are you just doing a couple reps and a couple sets for an hour a day, expecting everything to change? So I think everything has to align, physically, mentally, and spiritually, if you actually want to develop in all areas. Because now for me, I just feel like the physical has just become automatic because everything else is aligned. So I don't really think too much about what I eat anymore. It's just become a habit, pick up, good healthy foods, surround myself with healthy people, have healthy conversations like this, and turn out healthier than I've ever been. And it's weird because I'm doing less quote work than I would have done in the past. Like, my life used to revolve just around like my diet and my exercise. But now that I'm balancing everything, mind, body, and spirit, I'm in the best shape that I've ever been in. I have better relationships than I've ever had. And I just feel better mentally. So there was a time when I was just hyper focused on building muscle and I wasn't in the best space mentally or spiritually. I just looked really good on the exterior, but everything inside was just chaos.
Yeah, and that's important. That's important. A lot of people are like that. So you're mentioning alignment, you're mentioning accountability, mentoring, who you're around, your surroundings, all of that plays a role. I know, for example, if I go into the gym by myself and go to do the same exercises that I know I'm supposed to do on whatever day it is, I do much better when I'm there with a few other people that I know are going to push, and I'll push myself more than if I'm just there by myself. A lot of people are not self-disciplined enough to push themselves without somebody else, isn't it? I mean, you may be able to do it, but I'm not sure. I mean, what do you find normally?
For me, well, I'm at the point now where I can push myself. However, I'm starting not to have as much fun alone. So I think, we're not meant to operate in isolation at all. Just like it says in Romans 12, like we're all meant, there's different parts of the body. So everybody has their purpose. But I recently started, trying to train with more people. I met one of my neighbors here and I was just like, let's go work out. It keeps me accountable. Instead of going to the gym at like 10 a.m., I might go at 7 a.m. just to get my day started better. I might push a little harder. I might, bring out my encouragement towards him. It just helps all together, just having other people with you,
Right.
because it just brings up the energy. I feel like the vibration is higher. I just feel like, it's something about giving somebody a high five when you do a hard set, or, having somebody push you through it,
Sure.
making you realize that you're a lot stronger than you thought you were.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, yeah, like alone I can do it, but like together I'm way better.
Well, you're bringing up something that about isolation, and right from the beginning in the Bible, God creates man and says, "Oh, it's not good for him to be alone."
Exactly.
Right. So it seems to be that was right from the beginning. So we need good people, but good people around us.
Right.
So you were saying at one point maybe your associations weren't quite the same, and then as you started to shift those things, it brings you to a higher level.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's been times in my life, probably mid-20s, where I was not running with like the best crowd.
Mm-hmm.
Was doing a lot of partying and not taking care of my body, kind of back to what you were mentioning about just being healthy and what you consume. Like, I was on a party diet, for a long time. And unfortunately, like I slipped into like a pretty bad drug habit for the earlier part of my 20s. And I wouldn't say that was only due to the people that I hung out with, but there was obviously some influence there.
Right.
So I would say like having the right people in your corner, people who aren't going to tolerate, they're not going to tolerate, the foolishness, they're not going to tolerate you playing at a level lower than they know that you can play at. That makes all the difference. So
yeah, definitely. Well, let's talk about now the routine, because you were saying that a lot of what you're doing, and people do this in all areas of life, a lot of what you're doing as far as what you're eating, your exercise, all the things you used to concentrate on, now it's just normal for you. So the diet and everything. I mean, obviously what people are eating today, consuming today, some of the habits that they have that is causing them to not be healthy, to not be fit, is what they're used to.
Mm-hmm.
So how long does it take if somebody's going to really change that and they're going to turn over a new leaf? How long does it take on average for the mindset to shift from, oh, I really want this, but I can't, so I'm going to do this, to, no, this is just the way that I live?
I feel like it's hard to quantify because everybody's different.
Yeah.
I think it really just comes down to a decision that has to be made.
Okay.
Deciding that you are going to turn over a new leaf and then just do the work to do it. So I don't think it's like, oh, in 3 weeks you'll be way better. You won't even have cravings. I think it's just more so if you stay present in the moment, in every moment, and realize that you have a bigger goal at hand than the current moment, the current feeling that you're in, that's where the change happens, because it's the small steps that we take. I think a lot of people focus on the big leap. It's just like, oh, well, I have to change everything all at once. But in reality, it's just those micro decisions that we make on a daily basis that compound over time. So I think that's the biggest thing, is staying present in the moment.
Okay.
Honestly.
Yeah. So the decision, and some decisions that sometimes are hard for people to make, but I'm thinking, for example, some fitness things. If a person's trying to say, not only get strong, but burn the body fat, all those different types of things. We're going to pick on some things right now. I get people mad when I do this, but let's say you have someone that will go and work out, but they've got to have their Starbucks every day, and they've got to have all of that. And I mean, obviously you can have some Starbucks here and there, but most of the drinks are going to be very loaded in sugar. So how is that going to counteract what you're trying to do?
Yeah, those liquid calories, it's, you don't even think about them. Sometimes if I want to order something from Starbucks and I'm feeling really just like off plan or whatever, every now and again, it's probably hundreds of calories, right?
Right.
But I think there's ways that you can modify those orders in order to like reduce the calories. But if you're doing something like that every single day and you're wondering why you're not making any progress, like there's certain things that you just have to give up in order to get to that next level.
Right.
And a lot of the times too, like those things are like filled with sugar, and they kind of like crash you out at a certain point.
Mm-hmm.
So even just getting maybe that little bit of a caffeine fix with just maybe like, a shot of espresso or just a black coffee with a little bit of sugar, doesn't
Right.
have to be loaded with all the cream and whatnot. You'll find over time that your body will respond to that, to the habits and the actions that you take. So after a while, you're not going to be craving that sugary drink if you just continue to train your body to consume like maybe just sugar-free sugar-free Starbucks drink. I know there's so many that you can look up online. There's so many alternatives. Doesn't taste the same at first, and it may not be what you want, but over time your body's going to crave that.
Yeah.
So for example, too, like when you, like for me, when I first started my diet way back, probably like 10 years ago, I would eat vegetables and sweet potatoes and rice and, chicken. And I was a huge like Chick-fil-A guy. Like I would eat Chick-fil-A like every day before that.
And it's right next to where you live. Right?
Yeah, exactly. So I would always eat Chick-fil-A all the time. I would get a burrito almost every morning.
Okay.
And then I started just eating oatmeal. And then I started eating, like rice with beef, and I would season it the way I wanted to. I would make it taste good. And then after a while, I started to crave like vegetables instead of sweets. I used to drink Dr. Pepper all the time. Like I had to have my Dr. Pepper every single day. But then after a while, I was like, okay, I'll just do black coffee. And then after a while, I was like, okay, I'll just start having water. And then over time, I was like, oh, I'm just craving water. I just need fluid, something to satiate my thirst.
Sure.
And so what that really did was help me just, dial in on the basics, like mastering the basics.
Yeah.
And now I don't crave that stuff like ever. It's good every now and again, but it's never due to a craving. It's just more so like, let's just.
So you're not over Chick-fil-A over here?
It's like every now and again. I mean, I like it, but
I noticed there's a lot of Chick-fil-A's in Dallas. From the time we get to the airport to here, I saw them all over.
yeah, they're everywhere.
Yeah.
There's one right outside the airport, actually.
Yeah. So there was one in it, right? When we got off the plane, there was one in it.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, that's the big thing. Like, that was huge for me. Just fast food. I used to love fast food. I love the convenience of it. But then once I started taking care of myself, like where I was like preparing my food, it became this, I don't know how to explain it, but the process of just loving what I was putting in my body, like, taking the time to cook it, taking the time to season it, taking the time to grill it like on an open flame, and like really like really being specific about how I made my food. When I would consume it, I was so much more grateful because I put in the work to make it not only healthy but taste good, and then I was seeing results from it. So I think when you don't take what you consume for granted, because your body is a temple, like, and you feed to nourish and you prepare what you need to prepare, you're going to have a lot of pride in what you consume after a while when you actually cultivate something that is conducive to the goals that you want to achieve. And that can be not just with food, but like when you cultivate your friend circle, or when you cultivate like your gym circle, when you have, your curated playlist of social media that you consume, like your devotionals that you curate on a daily basis, like little things that you do on a every day, and you attach yourself to that routine. It's so hard for something to just come in there and disrupt it.
Yeah.
It's like you protect it more.
That becomes what used to be normal now becomes the abnormal.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So everything changes. That's great. So let's talk about the journey. Then, so you got your pro card, and what year did you get your pro card in?
I think it was 2 years ago, 2023.
Okay. So, I mean, a lot of people, they'll do fitness and they'll do, weight training and all that. But to get the pro card takes a very high level of training and commitment and just really making that decision, like you were saying. So kind of what made you want to do that? And then maybe kind of take us a little bit on the journey of what it took to do that.
I mean, so whenever I was like back in my 20s, and like I mentioned, I was, partying all the time. I had a pretty crippling like drug addiction and alcohol addiction. It kind of ruined my life in that period of time. When I got sober, I just remember being in the rehab center. They had a gym and unlimited food.
Okay.
So I just remember like I couldn't sleep, so I'd wake up and I would just go down and I'd get some food and then I'd just go lift
Okay.
or go for a walk.
Yeah.
And I started seeing some changes pretty quickly. Like they had a gym there, and so I would lift and I was like, okay, cool, gaining some weight back pretty fast. And I started seeing like muscular definition. I was like, okay, cool, this is great. Like I always had professional guidance in high school, so I knew how to lift and I had like the muscle memory. So I was like, okay, I know that my body's going to bounce back. And then so just started lifting, going to the gym, got a little bit intrigued by bodybuilding, but I always told myself I don't really want to do it because it's going to ruin my relationship with the gym. Like right now it's just an outlet.
Gotcha.
So I just spent like years just training as if I was going to compete. So sculpting my body in a way that was conducive to the division that I wanted to compete in. And over time, like I just built this really, really cool aesthetic look.
Yeah.
And then I still never wanted to do it though. Like people be like, oh, you need to compete. I'm like, nah, I'm not going to compete. I don't want to do it. Like, but you would win. I'm like, yeah, I probably would, but I don't want to do it. So
why didn't you want to do it? I'm just curious.
I just didn't want it to consume me.
Gotcha.
I really enjoy lifting just for the sake of lifting.
So did that have anything to do with the struggles that you had gone through already, because that became consuming and you didn't want something else to take over, or I don't know.
Yeah, I think when I did start, and I can get to that in a minute, but when I did start, competing, it just became everything to me. But it was good, and we'll talk about that here in a minute. But essentially, I just didn't want to do it because I'd seen, people put in all this work and lose and like do all that. So I was like, if I'm going to do this, I want to make sure that I'm going to win. So I spent so much time like building the mature muscle that it takes to win a show. I think a lot of people rush into it and are disappointed with what they bring.
Right.
For me, I put a lot of the work in, like up front. I front loaded the work. So by the time I was ready to step on stage, it was just lights out. So I remember one year, I think it was 2021 or 2022, probably 2021. I was just sitting there and it was in July and it was like a Sunday. And I hadn't prepared my food for the week, which is something I never do. Like I always have my food ready. I was hungry and I was like, why am I hungry? I should have food together. Why am I thinking about where my next meal is going to come from? And this was a time where I was, just very busy with the summer. I was like, okay, let me just hit somebody up and see if they can help me, just keep me accountable. So I reached out to a mutual and he was a coach. His name's Don. And so I just like sent him a message. I was like, hey, I want to, just help me out, help me stay accountable. And maybe someday we'll compete. And he just looked at me. He's like, yeah, honestly, like we can like compete as soon as like 16 weeks. I'm like, no way. I was like, all right, whatever, let's do it. And so I just locked in immediately. I was already in really good shape. So it was easy. Honestly, like that's
like, great. I mean,
I hate to say it like that, but it's just for me, like I had done so much work, like it was fun. Like it didn't feel like it was a hard process for
so
me.
It had become who you were
right
at that point, as far as the routine, everything you did, the work you were putting in.
Yeah. And then the only thing that was different was there was another set of eyes on me. So somebody else just who dialed in the plan and made the adjustments for me. So I was like, all right, cool. I'll just do that. This takes a lot of pressure off of me, So we did that and I did my first show and I won. And
so you won on the first show?
Yeah, I just wanted, so that was just a regional show. It wasn't the pro qualifier. So I got first place in that one. And then about 4 weeks later, I was like, let's just do another one. And I won a lot of trophies at that show and a lot of medals. Yeah, that was fun. And then that's where I qualified for the national show. So they have the regional show, then they have the national show. And then if you win at a national show, you win your IFBB pro card. So I took some time off and just, grew. And then I did one show and I ended up getting third.
Okay.
That was a national show. So I didn't qualify for my pro card. I was like, whatever, let's just take some time off. I probably could have done it again and won, but I took some time off. And then the next show that I did, was when I won my pro card. So I was so prepared for that show.
Yeah.
I just did so much work because I was like, this is the last time I'm going to step on stage. So let's just.
So if it didn't work, you weren't going to try
I
it
was
again.
done. Yeah, I was like, well, it was going to work. That's why. Yeah, that's why
I like the certainty.
That's why I said it was like
Yeah.
gonna be my last time. Like, okay, I'm gonna win my pro card and I'm done. Like, but this is it. Like, so I went all in, and I just had so much confidence in myself and my team and like the guidance that I had, that I just knew like without a doubt we were gonna win. Just
So without the personal decision, without the right team, without the combination of things, how much harder is it to win then?
Oh, it's so much harder because even on like show day, I woke up and I did not look my best, and I knew it. And I sent like my updates to my coach, and I was like, "Yo, I feel like we're a little off." And I'm freaking out, but he's just like, "Okay, like let's just stay cool. We got this. Let's just go for a little walk, like relax a little bit."
Okay.
And he just kind of like kept me, like he helped me keep my head in the game.
Gotcha.
And if I hadn't had that, then I probably would have blew it that day. Because it's the thing about bodybuilding, it's like it comes down to like minutes almost. You're only on stage for a couple of minutes and you have to look your best, and your body can change really fast in a short amount of time.
So how much of that, this is kind of fascinating to me, okay, what you're coming through, because the average person just thinks, well, I wake up and I look how I look. I mean, it's basically just, you're saying that the body can literally, you were fine the day before and then you wake up and it's like, wow, I don't look my best today. In a matter of just hours of changing, right? And then you were able to do something to fix it with the right coaching and the right mentality. So how much of it is mentality that it literally shifts the way your body's looking?
Honestly, like if you can basically tell yourself that not to stress out, your body will relax, and like the extra water that it's holding, like from the stress, will just, you'll release it, whenever you go to the bathroom or whatever, and it'll just help everything absorb into the muscle as well. So you're not, when you're overly stressed, like you can tell when an athlete's overly stressed out.
Okay.
It's just, they show up a little bit softer typically. So like the muscle's there, but it's just more so the liquid on between the muscle and the skin typically shows up when you're stressed out. So
people that are watching this podcast right now, there's a lot of stressed out people out there.
Yeah.
That are going through a lot of different things. And what you're touching on right here, I mean, they're probably dealing with this every day, not even realizing it. That's just their life.
Right.
They don't know the difference. So what are some of the things that you learned or what you were coached on? I mean, how do you fix that? I mean, obviously you can't get rid of it completely, but are there certain techniques or ways mentally to shift?
I mean, I think it really comes down to even what I was saying earlier, just about staying in the moment, not worrying about what happened to get you to that state that you're in, and not worrying about what's going to happen next. It's just, where are my feet right now? And that's it. Like when you focus on where you're at in the moment and how you can get through the particular moment that you're in, it just takes the stress off of you, because you can only think about where you are.
Okay. So that's why a lot of people can't sleep, because they're thinking about what either happened or is going to happen, instead of just relaxing and on with everything else, right?
Yeah. So it's like, how can I get out of my head, right? And so I try to breathe. Like that's one thing. What really helps me out is just getting outside and going for like a walk. Just very simple. It doesn't have to be this grand thing. Sometimes it can be reading. Sometimes it can be talking to somebody that you love. Just getting outside of yourself is the best way. Because at that point, you're not being selfish anymore. I think a lot of stress and a lot of anxiety comes from being so consumed in what you have going on. And when you get to the point where you can start to serve other people, it's just like, oh, well, nothing really matters. That like the things that I thought were a big deal are not as much of a big deal anymore.
You're bringing up a great point, because I think a lot of people don't realize this, that when they're thinking about, oh, I'm anxious about this and I'm consumed with this problem, and they're focusing on all those things, they don't think of that as being selfish. but it really is. It's because all we're thinking about is ourself. I know even in scripture where it talks about loving God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and love your neighbor as yourself. I've had people through the years that have said, well, I don't love myself. I have a problem with that. And they think that they don't love themselves. But the truth is, even in that consumption of not loving themselves, they're still thinking about themselves constantly. So that's still where the focus is. They don't think they love themselves, but that's what they're thinking about.
Right. I mean,
So-
if you're going to be talking to yourself every day, all day, which is what most of us do,
Right.
like if we're having conversations with ourselves, whether we are conscious of it or whether it's subconscious, why not, why not uplift yourself? Why not be your own biggest fan? And I don't think loving yourself is just like shouting affirmations all day.
Sure.
Or like, looking in the mirror saying like, oh, I'm so amazing. I think loving yourself is doing the things that you would do for other people. Like,
Okay.
Truly. Like for me, it's like, I think little things, it's very small, like, taking like maybe 15 minutes just to connect with myself, connect with God in the morning, like reading the Bible, that's a form of self-love to me,
Okay.
because I'm connecting with God.
Right.
And if God is love and we're made in his image, like there's so much love inside of us. So I think connecting to that source on a daily basis is a form of self-love. And then when you have that in you, and you can just pass it on to everybody else that you come in contact with. That's been so huge for me. Just like smiling at people when I see them, just,
Right.
Trying to be in a good mood, or like saying like, hey, how's your day going? Like smiling with my eyes and just, being open to giving and receiving on a daily basis. I feel like that is, that's huge. Is even something as simple as telling a stranger hi, is an act of service, in my opinion. Or, it's
And
asking somebody.
that's more rare today, isn't it? People just look down, look at their phone.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's like, how are you doing? Like, oh, good to see you. Like, is everything okay? Awesome. Well, I hope you have an amazing day. Just little things like that. And not in like a way that is, fake.
Sure.
Or just to be polite, but just more like in like really genuine, like being genuinely concerned with how the other human is. Like, what's this, I wonder what this soul is going through that's having a human experience,
Right.
like what's going on over on that end, because I know that I'm going through some things, but I can't be the only one, right?
Oh,
I know I'm not
absolutely.
the only one. So
Everybody's going through something, right?
right, exactly. And if the more that we're aware of that, and the more that we can shed light and be a positive light to somebody else in their experience, like I think the better the world will be, because I feel like that is an act of self-love, getting outside of yourself.
Yeah, tying it in, and you talked about your early church background, and I'm wondering if, the verses you were learning as a kid, the things you were learning, you just kind of, you mentioned you had it as a head knowledge, and it was more of just, this is just what we do, and this is just what we believe, and all of that. And I know that early on in ministry and faith for me as well, it was like, no, you don't love yourself. That's conceited. We're supposed to be humble. We're sinful, so we don't, and all of that. And yet I came to realize later that that's not the story that God really tells us, right? I mean, he loved us even while we were still sinners. Christ died for us. So he's not the one telling us, he created us as a masterpiece.
Right.
So why are we having a different opinion than what he has? So it's not conceited to have a love for yourself. It's an appreciation of how God sees us, right?
Well, right. And I think like humility and the word humble, I feel like there's a misrepresentation of what humility is.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you got to be humble. And some people are like, oh, yeah, why would you want to be humble? I just think humility is knowing that you're not as powerful as, you are less powerful on your own than you are with having a relationship with God, your creator. That's all I see humility as, is knowing where you came from, and the source of your strength, knowing what that is, understanding that where we are weak, he is strong, and leaning into that and like celebrating those weaknesses. Like, I feel like that's true humility, like
Right.
knowing like, okay, well, this is where I'm not strong. So this is awesome. Let me let him in. That's, to me, is humility. I don't think humility is just thinking less of yourself.
No, it's just
It's just
placing ourselves under
under the
God himself.
authority. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
it.
Nice. So you go through, and I love what you said about getting the pro card. You said that you had that certainty. It wasn't like if it was going to happen, you knew it was going to happen. And I think that probably played a huge role in it actually happening. If you had gone in there thinking otherwise, it probably would have been a different story, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I was so prepared. Like, I just knew, and I proclaimed it. And I, like, me and my coach, we would just like talk, and he would always post online that I was going to win. So I was like, okay, well, put me on the spot.
So he had certainty too.
Yeah. So like
Yeah.
I think having that, that confidence, it just makes you work harder, because then you got to back it up,
Sure.
back it up as well. And it wasn't in a conceited type of way. It was just like, there's no way that, I don't think there's anybody who's working as hard as I am. Like, there can't be.
Yeah.
Like, I was living and breathing it when I did it.
So you did that, you lived it, you breathed it, then you got it.
Yeah.
And at this point, I mean, you're posting those things, you're doing those things, and that was everything, right? You would put everything into it, even though at one point you're saying, no, I don't want to do this. But then you went in it all the way. Then you get there, and few people get there. So I'm thinking the question now is, you got there, then what happened?
I mean, there was, that euphoria feeling for like a couple hours.
Mm-hmm.
And then you realize, like, well, now what? I feel like I ended up, putting my identity in my physique, right? And I would tell myself I was disciplined, but I was really just trying to work towards a goal. Like, I was just very, very motivated, extremely motivated, because when that was done, it's just like, okay, well, what now?
Right.
Like, how can I transfer this? And I found that it was very difficult for me to transfer that, quote, discipline into other areas of life. I mean, I know what it takes to win, but I also knew that it was going to be very hard for me to lose. So there was almost no risk, like, doing what I did, because I was so certain.
Mm-hmm.
So what I learned through that was I just did it because I knew I could.
Okay.
And once I got it, I was like, well, what else can I do? I don't know. Like, this is all I know. Like, I felt like my body and my physique had become like an idol almost to me.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of, doing all the partying that I used to do and, really like abusing my body, it got to the point where I was just glorifying it too much. Like, okay, well, this is what I'm going to do. If I'm not going to be, consuming drugs and alcohol all the time, I'm just going to eat super healthy, and I'm going to be this epitome of what health looks like. But on the inside, I was so empty, because I hadn't really, at that point, I hadn't gotten back to my source. I was just distracting myself with another vice, which was winning.
Well, so what you're bringing up here, which brings to my mind, is people that do things in life all the way or are successful all the way, they tend to obsess on it. And the obsession seems to be like a negative word in our culture, but really it's not. It just has to be the right obsession, right?
Right.
So you had, with the partying and the different things, and that kind of consumed your life for a period of time. And then you ended up switching that to this. I know I've noticed exactly what you're talking about, because in some of the one gym that I go to, where there's a lot of people that are trying to either have it or are trying to get where you achieved. And I noticed this. I mean, there's mirrors everywhere, and literally every day, I mean, they're just like, it's the same people in there at the time every day, and they're looking at every part and every little thing and doing all that. And I mean, there's a posing room with mirrors everywhere. I walked in there one time and I said, "No, this is way too much of me. I don't want to see this because I don't look right for the posing room." But yeah, and sometimes I think to myself, man, I don't think they ever think about anything else. I mean, it's just every little inch of the body constantly. So you're saying to that point, you realize you wanted something more.
Yeah, but I didn't know what it was.
Okay.
Yeah, I had no idea. So it was just more like I was trying to just find another achievement, to check off, to maybe make myself feel better about myself, maybe to feel like I was, I had, what's the word I'm looking for? I can't remember the word, but like made up for, that lost time that I had spent, all that shame that I had dealt with from allowing myself to, go down such a dark path. I was like, okay, well, what if I just achieve something that's quote hard to achieve for most people? Like maybe that'll make me feel better. But then I realized it's like, well, that's not it. And so I would just like consume myself in work after that. So I started doing that. And, that didn't make me feel any better. And, I decided, okay, well, what if I just make this content pop off? Like, what if I get followers and go viral? And I was like, maybe that'll make me feel better. Right. So I did that and it happened. I was like, okay, well, still feel empty. Like, this is cool, but
yeah,
this isn't it. And
I mean,
then,
you have hundreds of followers.
Yeah, hundreds of thousands.
Hundreds of thousands. I meant to say hundreds of thousands of followers.
So, and that was cool. Like most people can't do that. But what I realized was I was just comparing myself to like the worldly standard, It's like, if I can just outdo what most people can do, maybe I'll feel better. But what I realized for me, like it was not hard. It didn't feel like it was work. It just felt like it was, a little plug and play. And then after, getting everything that I thought I wanted, I ended up losing like relationships. I realized I didn't have anyone. I didn't have anyone with me. I was angry all the time. I was just striving to, get the next achievement. It was never enough. I couldn't even celebrate where I was at. And I realized it's because I had built my identity on a reflection and not a foundation.
Right.
And so that's when I really I think things started to, kind of unravel slowly for me. Because I just remember I was, on a vacation and people were just like pointing like, wow, that's so like, wow, look at him. And I realized I was like, there's so much more to me than muscle. Like,
So they didn't even really know you.
Yeah,
just by looking and
just like, oh, like, kind of turned into this object, which I thought I wanted to be. I was like, oh, I want to build something so people like will see me. I want to be seen. But then I realized like it was just, okay, well, what's deeper than that? Like, how can I connect on a deeper level with other people? Because this doesn't feel good,
Yeah.
That it doesn't feel good that this feels like this is all that I am. It's just like a spectacle, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So you kind of had the thing that so many do. Well, when I achieve this or when this happens, then I'm going to be happy. When this happens, I'm going to be happy. And yet you kept getting there and it wasn't working. There was still a void that was in there. How many people do you think are out there right now that have something like that in their life? They're going, oh, I know I'm going to be happy when this, and yet no matter what happens, there's still that void.
Yeah, I think that more than would care to admit have that going on.
So you ended up then going, some people would say backwards, but not really. You ended up finding that the one that you kind of knew and heard about all along from childhood was actually what you were missing.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it had been something that had been like tugging at me for a very long time. Like everything I was doing was out of pride and ego. But I felt like that pride and ego stemmed from shame, this feeling that if I'm not perfect, or if I don't look perfect, or if I'm not perceived as perfect, then I'll never be accepted. So I created this persona that was perfect, but I still didn't feel accepted. Maybe I was, maybe I received the accolades and like, the high fives, but didn't really have anybody that I could call like my tribe or my people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that was, I didn't even realize it, but I feel like that was depressing for me.
Sure.
But I was just working at such a high level. I didn't realize I was depressed because I was still,
Didn't have time for it.
yeah, I was still winning.
Yeah.
Right. But it didn't feel,
But winning was in a way losing.
yeah, I was losing myself
Uh-huh.
to win. And then it just kind of got to this point where, things fell apart, and I realized that I was trying to just win all the time. And I was talking to my sister, and I was just like, man, I feel like I'm just like anything I do, like I know how to, I can do it better than most people, but I know how to win. Like I know how to be a winner. He's like, yeah, well, that's cool, but you can't win salvation. And that's just like,
wow,
just
that was straight out of that point, huh?
Yeah, that one got me. And that's when like that happened like back in April. And that was kind of like the catalyst for my transformation.
So you realized with that statement, if I'm understanding you correctly, that basically everything that you were touching was turning to gold from a worldly standpoint. But that's the one thing that you, no matter what you would try to do, you couldn't get on your own.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I was trying so hard to like work my way into favor. Even like before that, I was serving in the church, but I was just trying to be like the perfect servant, like do as much as possible so that way, I could be good with God. Like it's like, oh, I'm gonna do all these works, right?
Yeah.
But then like, Ephesians 2:9, not by works, so that no man can boast, like not by works of righteousness, is only by grace. And that was a verse that I had memorized like as a kid. Like I knew that one like the back of my hand, but I never felt it until I realized that I've been trying to just work my way into worthiness, work my way into favor, but realizing that was just pride.
Isn't it amazing how we can know these scriptures, memorize these scriptures, have them in there? I mean, obviously you didn't forget them because they started popping back into your head. And yet, I've seen this in ministry over the years where people sit there and they'll hear and they'll hear and they'll hear, but it doesn't translate. They still don't realize it. So you knew these things, but at the same time, you were trying to prove yourself to God, I guess, and make yourself good enough.
Honestly, but it was subconscious. It was a subconscious thing. Like it was so weird because I wasn't aware of the fact that I was just trying to be this, good Christian boy, instead of being like this man of God that I'm called to be.
Yeah.
And it's not about what you do. It's about who you are, and it's about accepting him into your heart and letting him run the show.
Sure.
Now
let me ask you this, because religion, a lot of people, I was just talking to someone yesterday and they go, oh, I've never really been really religious. And I responded saying, well, to me, religion is what man does to try to make themselves good enough for God. And it just doesn't work. And when this came around and God really kind of got this and put it all together, didn't it become like a relief?
Yeah.
Like a lot easier.
Yeah. In a way, like I've really just taken a step back from, trying so hard. Like obviously I still put in work when I need to, but more so now I'm just focused on my identity in Christ, and the authority that he's given me. And that's what I'm trying to understand now.
Yeah.
I'm focused on who do I need to be and not what do I need to do,
Right. So when a person's trying to be enough in whatever it is, it's very liberating when they realize that, well, God already says you are, and Jesus was already enough. And so through him, you're enough.
Right. Right. It's like it takes the pressure out. It's like it's not on me anymore.
Right.
Like there's nothing I can do to be enough except surrender. So waving the white flag and
There you go. Now, that doesn't mean, I mean, obviously there's still way more to do now that you have this perspective. So let's put it all in perspective now.
yeah.
Everything from the childhood and the faith, all of that, the struggles with addiction, the then switching things up and getting very focused into the bodybuilding, getting your pro card, all of that, being able to then achieve things through social media. I mean, obviously, if there's anything we've seen in these 150 something podcast episodes that we've done now, is that the different stages in people's life, God doesn't waste any of it. So all of this that you've done, including the striving, even the things that you learned how to do, but still wasn't enough. I don't know how much you thought about this, but how is all of this now not going to be wasted? And moving forward, God's got big plans for what he wants to do through you.
Well, I think one thing I did learn how to do was, persist through tough times.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm very resilient. That's what I've found out about myself through all of this, is that I can persevere and be persistent through a lot. And I think the biggest thing is that everything that I've been through, it can be used as a testimony to
Sure.
help somebody else. Like, that's it. Like, that's when it boils down to it. The ups and downs that I've been through in my life and the lessons that I've learned can help somebody that is going through it right now.
Right.
And that's the goal. That's really that's the only thing that seems to matter right now. That's the only thing that's clear right now for me. Going through all these experiences, the only way that I would waste them is if I didn't share them.
Right.
If I kept it all to myself.
So the positive, even what seemed like a negative, it can still turn into something extremely good, because now, I mean, you obviously have been there. So you're able to help somebody where someone that hasn't gone through those things. So even resilience, somebody's out there. I mean, you can help somebody become resilient through something that they're going through when they need somebody to come alongside them.
Yeah, 100%. And continuing to show up. Like, if you have another day, it's up to you on how you spend it. We
Right.
can spend it, complaining about the fact that we're in a valley, or we can say, okay, I'm in a valley. The only way is up. Or we can complain about the fact that it was just like, oh wow, if you're at the top of the mountain, it's like, oh wow, I made it to the mountain. Or it's like, no, like, God placed me here, and this may only be temporary for now. So like, how can I be grateful for where I'm at, no matter what?
Mm-hmm.
And staying grounded in the highs and the lows, knowing that, the only way that you can stay there, even if or get through it, is through gratitude.
Right.
And humility, kind of like what we touched on earlier. It's like, my best thinking may have got me to the lowest of the lows, but the grace of God is going to get me out. And the grace of God got me here, but if I take my will and my power back, then I might end up back at my lowest low.
Right.
So understanding that and, tapping into that and being around people who can keep you centered and keep you focused, having conversations like this, even,
Right.
this is really helping me a lot,
I love it.
And
I enjoy it.
just getting outside of yourself,
Right.
getting outside of your head and, getting with other people. I think that's the biggest thing, getting around the right people who can lift you up, because we all need to be lifted.
We do. Now, as we're getting towards the close of this, I do want to say one thing that we discussed before we even started was you mentioned about one of the goals that you have now that God's kind of laid in your heart. It's just to kind of connect with more and more people, meet more people, have more people in your life, or be pouring into their life. So what are you sensing there? I mean, you seem to have God kind of pushing you that way.
Yeah. So there's one thing that I'm working on. I think a lot of men, especially in the fitness space, need more community. Um, and not just community for, fitness, but I think, there's three pillars like mind, body, spirit,
Sure.
know. And so what I'm doing is I'm building the more than muscle community.
Nice.
Uh,
Okay.
and it's a place where men can, connect with others and learn more about how to, grow deeper in their faith, grow deeper in mental health, emotional health, and, being so strong in that, the fitness just becomes automatic. The physical is just automatic.
Yeah.
I think when you are tapped in with tapped in with the Holy Spirit, and you do recognize that your body's a temple and every day is a gift, like, it's easy to take care of yourself. When you are in a good mental state and you are, loving yourself and doing the things that you need to do in order to care for yourself, it's easy to show up for the gym and eat a healthy meal, because you're not at war with yourself anymore. Everything is aligned.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm working on. So I'm excited
Awesome.
to share more about that.
So you're putting that out there. How does somebody find that, or how does somebody connect?
So we're still putting it together.
Okay.
It's building. So you guys are, I haven't spoken a lot about this. You're hearing this here.
There you go.
But we're putting it together. It should be done in 90 days.
Nice. So they're going to find it where? Like through your Instagram?
Yeah, I'll be talking about it on Instagram more.
There you go.
So
that's something that people should definitely, especially if they've been inspired by your story and what you've been sharing on this podcast, you're going to want to make sure that you follow Ben on, I know I follow you on Instagram. Is there other platforms as well, or is that the main one?
Instagram and TikTok for the most part. So,
Oh, there you go.
yeah.
I still got to get up to speed on TikTok. I've been slow on TikTok.
So there's that. So that's what we've been working on. Like you'll probably see a big shift in the style of content that I was making before the transition and after, but that's just the power of the Holy Spirit. So the changes that he has done inside of me is just clearly evident in like the giant shift in the content that I've made over the last year. And I think it's good to see that for people, because you may look at it and you may be like, well, what is that? What is, like, he was wilding out like last year, but now it's just like I don't even recognize myself. And there's just this peace that's come over me lately, and this serenity that I feel like in everything that I do. And I owe it all to God's grace. So
Amen. Well, let's do this. I'm going to give you kind of a free question to go ahead and speak to the camera and kind of say what you want to say, because there's people out there that are maybe going through some of the journey that you've gone through in one way or another. They're waiting for that moment when everything's going to be great, when they're going to achieve what they've always wanted to achieve, when they're going to find that happiness and fulfillment that you went after, and yet then you still found there was something missing. Okay, maybe they feel stuck right now. Maybe they just don't know which way is up. Okay, you mentioned the Holy Spirit. So as the Holy Spirit leads you, not knowing who's going to be out there and when they're going to watch it, what do you think God would have you tell them right now?
Putting me on the spot here.
Big loaded question.
That is. Wow. I would say, if you're in a position where you feel stuck, if you're in a position where you feel like, you can't break through and you've tried everything, I think the biggest thing is knowing that whatever it is that you're holding on to that's weighing you down, you've been forgiven. You just have to receive it. And I think that forgiveness can be tricky, because from a human standpoint, it doesn't make any sense. Sometimes it's hard for us to even acknowledge that we have been forgiven. Sometimes it's hard for us to forgive ourselves. But we can't continue to look back at yesterday's imperfections and carry that like a weight or like an armor to protect us. I feel like we have to embrace it and understand that you're just a soul having a human experience. And look back on that version of yourself that may have been less than perfect, that you've been dragging through the mud. Look back at them with love and embrace them and integrate those stories that you've told yourself that may not have been the most positive. Integrate that into you and use that as your testimony, and understand that we're all going through it. So forgive yourself for it, because God has already forgiven you. And once we forgive ourselves and once we embrace the past, you'd be surprised at how much weight that releases from you. And when that weight is released, the only way is up. That's what I got.
That's a great message. That's a great message. Ben, we really appreciate you again, spending the time with us today. We're looking forward to some great things that you're going to be doing in the future. Give us just the official Instagram handle so that they can follow you.
Yeah, that's Ben Pruitt _fit, BenPruitt _fit. If you're watching this on the video cast, I'm sure it'll be somewhere on the screen. But again, that's Ben Pruitt _fit on Instagram and TikTok.
So make sure you follow him because there's going to be big announcements, as he's already mentioned, and I know that we're going to want to be following a lot of what he's going to be putting out in the future. And make sure you share this podcast with others, whatever platform you're looking on it right now. Make sure that your friends, family, or anyone out there that would benefit from this, that they would see it as well. And we hope that you will also be joining us for future episodes as well. If you have not subscribed to this podcast, please do. And we look forward to bringing more great guests in the future. So until then, continue to walk in audacious faith, knowing that God has big plans for what he wants to do through your life. God bless you.